Hey everyone, welcome back to the It's a Mind Game podcast. My name is Jade, and I'm so excited to have our next guest on today. Her name is Alexandra, and she's a female sensual empowerment coach and pleasure expert. She's certified in holistic sex and intimacy coaching. She's empowering women to awaken their sensuality and connect to their sexual so they can experience radical self expression, body confidence inside and out of the bedroom, honor their voice, feel worthy of pleasure, enjoy sex and intimacy without the shame. She works one-on-one and works workshops with an online program, which we will talk about a little bit later. But without further ado, let's get into the juicy stuff. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about pleasure and female sexuality with you.
I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this chat for quite some time because I feel like it's such an important part of our life to enjoy sex and pleasure and masturbation and all these sorts of things. And it's so natural to us. And yet there's such a stigma to, or we shouldn't talk about it, or we shouldn't be able to enjoy ourselves in all these different ways, or perhaps there's other things going on and it's like, oh, I just don't have a libido, so I'm just going to act like a person who doesn't have a libido. I guess that's probably a good place to start. Do you work with a lot of people who come to you going, I don't have a libido. I don't know how to get into the mood. Am I broken?
Yeah. I work with a lot of women who come to me and, as you say, they don't feel they don't have any libido, any drive to want to have sex or feel for sex, and they think something is wrong with them, or they're broken, or they're quite frustrated. And if we want from the mind, we want to have sex, but our body shuts down, it doesn't respond with desire or arousal, it can be really challenging. So my first question would be to those women is, rather than trying to increase your libido or add things, I would first start to ask, how much stress are you experiencing in your life at the moment? And how can we decrease the stress first? Stress is the first or biggest reason why we are not feeling for sex or intimacy. So, and especially with everything that's happening in the world right now, there is a lot of stress collectively or in our household, financially, with kids, school, the uncertainty of the future in our career. So how can we try to just slow down and coming to our body, breathing, making sure we're sleeping, eating properly, drinking enough water, having a look at how much are we trying to get off our phone. Just really slow down and see where we can ease up as much stress as possible in our life. And then of course we have a look at what we can do. And for many women, and sexual desire can be responsive or spontaneous. And I think a lot of women, they think they're just going to feel for sex, they're going to have spontaneous desire because maybe their partner just randomly get horny or feel for sex. But for a lot of women, we need something our body responds to with desire. So maybe we need to see something, or we need to hear something, or we need to feel seen, heard, understood, and met outside the bedroom to feel for sex. So maybe we need to be touched in the right way. We all have different things we need to feel relaxed and open and want to have sex and intimacy. So the question is, what do you need? What do you need to feel for sex and intimacy?
So when you are working with women that are in this sort of position where it's like, I don't have a libido, I can acknowledge that there's definitely stress in my life. So we're working on lowering stress and I guess healthy practices. Is there ways to, I guess, work out what gets you in the mood, what turns you on? Because I know, we watch things in movies where it's like, the gentleman stands up, strips his clothes off, woman walks in, they jump into it, and it's like, oh, does it actually happen that way? Because I couldn't snap into it like that. And then you've got some guilt associated with things that you've seen on the media or on TV or porn or whatever it is that you're watching. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm not even going to explore that because I just know that won't work for me. So how can we work out how to get in the mood, and how, I guess, to talk to our partners about what turns us on? Like, is it an emotional thing? Is it touch? Is it how do we find that spark and ignition?
Yeah, really good question. And this is where I guess it gets a bit tricky, because there's not one answer for everyone. So I would say we have to go in with an open mind and try our way and explore. My first question would be like, what brings you pleasure? what makes you feel good, and how can we allow ourselves to receive pleasure outside the bedroom in a non-sexual setting. Like, what brings you pleasure? Is it the sun against your face, or is it sitting outside in your own space and reading a book and having your coffee in the morning? Do you feel good when you wear something? Can you put on something that makes you feel really good? And again, for someone that would be lingerie and heels, right? And for someone else that would be an oversized hoodie and dancing around naked in the kitchen. And for someone else, that might be the partner's oversized shirt. So what makes you feel good? What makes you happy? What brings you pleasure? And then we have to try different things.
I guess a important takeaway part of that is the exploration, like you said. So it's sort of like you need to have a few things in your toolbox to go, all right, let's try X, Y, and Z and see what resonates most. Do you find that even when women, and let's say even men for that matter, are trying to explore, because maybe it's a confidence thing. It's like my libido goes in the closet because I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not confident. I'm a little bit scared about what's going to happen if we commence this journey. Where can we start? Oh, sorry, I got too excited then. Do you find that sometimes you need to go through those things a couple of times? Like you said, dancing around naked in your hoodie, or wearing sexy lingerie and high heels. Do you find that sometimes, all right, you try it once, you try everything on your list and you go, oh, none of that worked for me. And then do you encourage people to go, oh, try it again? Maybe try it when you've had a better night's sleep. Try it when you've watched a movie that you love and you've been laughing and done something joyful, or maybe do it after a meditation when you're really centered and grounded. Do you find sometimes almost like practicing how to get into the mood can help people find that?
Absolutely. And 100%, the more we practice something, and when we do this, say for example, you wear something that is a bit sexy or sensual, and it feels uncomfortable first, and we might feel shame, you might feel guilt, you might feel fear. So when we are doing something that brings us pleasure or feels good, I invite you to sit with what you experience in the moment. Like, turn off the monkey mind, turn off what you listen to, what you feel into what's happening in your body. What are you feeling and experience? Where is the discomfort coming from? And then we can reflect. Very often, we have all been from early age been programmed that sex is bad, it's shameful, it's taboo, especially as women. We shouldn't be sensual, we shouldn't be sexual, we shouldn't be too much. We should definitely not enjoy sex and intimacy in the bedroom. So messages from our parents, from advertising, from TV, social media have been programming us for 10, 20, 50, 60 years. That stick in our body, that's stuck with us. So even if we think we want to be sensual or we want to enjoy pleasure, our body's like, it's not safe for me. It's not safe for me to feel aroused. It's not safe for me to feel desire or follow those urges. So your body's going to fight against you. So to be able to release that shame or those negative messages, we need to turn up the volume and reflect. And maybe we can locate, we all have a memory. Most women I work with, either when we start work or the first session or along the way, we remember the first time we feel shame around sex, intimacy, being nude, self-pleasure, as a kid, where you heard your mom said something, don't touch yourself, or you saw your friends doing something and their parents shamed them. So we all have this memory for the first time when we realize, oh, this is not okay. But when we turn up the volume and we reflect and not remember those experiences, we can then reprogram. Actually, it is okay for me to feel pleasure. It is okay for me to be sensual and to be alive and to dance around naked in the kitchen or eating something with my hands and enjoy that. All those messages I picked up along the way is actually not my truth. I can understand my parents said what I did, or my teacher, or in church, because they tried to keep me safe as a kid, to protect me for something. But now I'm a grown-up woman. I'm responsible for myself. And I can now choose to release that because I know better. I know I'm worthy of pleasure. I know that this is okay.
It's amazing how many of those things you hear growing up that actually stick with you. And you and I were having a bit of a debrief before this podcast. And I mentioned that, when I was in high school, I remember one of my girlfriends getting intimate with a boy for the first time. And, she could have been one of the first in our group to sort of take that step, for loss of words. And he had the feedback of like, oh, yeah, she was so wet. And he said it in a way that was really dismissive of her. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, wet is bad. Like, can't do that. They're going to think you're disgusting. They're not going to want to get with you, or there's going to be rumors because it's high school. Rumors spread and there's gossip because it's all new conversation. It's a whole new world that's opening up. And then, later on in life, that was a massive barrier for me because it's like I couldn't relax because it's like if that happens, it's over. Like I'm disgusting. And then in time, I obviously learnt that no, actually, that's a real turn on for your partner. Well, in some situations, because it's like your body's responding to them. It's showing that you want to be intimate and there's love there and there's all those sorts of things. And I just remember that leap in intimacy that happened as soon as I went, oh, that's something I heard as a teenager. That's not real. Like that's not a thing. You amplified it because you thought you were going to be dismissed from your peers. And somehow it just, because like it's a natural response as well. Even if you want to go, no, 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 don't let it happen. It happens. It's all a part of it. What kind of other blocks or barriers, I guess, have you experienced when clients have come to you and maybe upon this conversation, they've recognized things that were said as children and teenagers and even in their adult life? I guess, porn stars and strippers can kind of get this, oh, yeah, slight kind of ordeal. But I know some women, it's like, I would love to be that sexual. I would love to be that confident that I could have sex in front of a camera or that I could wear incredible lingerie and dance around on a pole and just feel empowered. But as soon as they have that thought, it's like, no, but, trashy women do that. Men don't respect women who do that. And it's sort of like they're in that tug of war between, I would feel so good if I could do this, and that doesn't fit in the world. Like I'm a mum, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a teacher, I'm a, whatever that is. And you've got that identity attachment that you can't have both. Do you find that is a common theme with clients? And I guess once they can kind of embody that, it's something that they really enjoy?
Yeah, all the time. And this is where we need to sit down and we need to have a look at what's going on inside you. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? And this is with sex and intimacy. It's not so much what we do in the bedroom, it's how we think and feel about it. And when the women come to me and they are torn because they have all these limiting beliefs and lies they've been told and negative messages, they're holding them back. We rewrite the story, we rewrite their story and what's their truth and how do they want to show up in the world. And if they want to connect to the sexuality and they work in the sensuality, we do practices and we support them to step into the power and let go of everyone else's and not make anyone else's opinion become their reality, and rather honor their truth, connect to their heart and who the woman they are here to be. And this is where it's like you mentioned, so how you had this experience where you were told it's bad to be wet. And it took you some time. It took you to bring awareness to that, to be able to release and actually know that was a lie from my upbringing. That's not true anymore. And we have all these unconscious stories in the past or experiences that we need to bring awareness to, so we can actually question them and let go. And it's the same. Like I always explain for my women, it's like when you're getting a message and they say it's call me, and you're getting a response in your body where it's like you're getting your heart starting to race, you might get hand sweat, you're starting to think what's wrong, what's happened. But there's just, it says call me. It might mean, do you want to go out in the weekend? Do you want to go to bed early tonight? Do you want me to pick up food? It can mean nothing, but your body thinks it's really dangerous or scary because your body remembers a time when that message came and it meant something bad, yeah? Or what happened after that message wasn't very comfortable. The same with our experience from our upbringing or previous relationship or dating. Even if you want to have sex and you want to open and you are in a happy, healthy relationship and you're ready, but your body remembers a time where it wasn't safe to be in a woman's body, and your body is going to tense and shut down and the shame's going to rise. Even if you want to be open and want to be sensual, your body holds another story that's going to stop you. So we need to bring awareness to all those experiences that are playing in the background and stopping you from fully stepping into your true power and embody what it means to be sensual and sexual and too much.
Yeah, so many important things you just said there. And I guess I want to explore some more about those previous beliefs and stories, and especially that idea of feeling safe, that you can explore things and that you can feel pleasure. Because I guess the pleasure goes hand in hand, and you please correct me if I'm wrong, the pleasure goes hand in hand with vulnerability. I felt like the more I could allow myself to be vulnerable, the more I could experience pleasure, because I didn't have this crazy barrier of like not allowed, can't do it, unsafe, could get hurt, all these, what's going to happen next sort of outcomes. Do you find that even sometimes, I guess, other than things that you might have heard earlier on in years, perhaps, we've all had experiences with ex-partners or one night stands or whatever it might be that left you feeling unsafe and not comfortable, and a lot of feelings of regret, or that shouldn't have happened, or there's a lot of interesting experiences that happen, especially as teenagers, because you don't know any better, and both parties don't necessarily know any better depending what they've been exposed to. But then all of a sudden you've got your new partner, your current partner, who you feel so much love towards, or even just a special bond. It might not be the person you're going to marry. It just, you feel something really strong there and you want that connection with them. Sometimes do you find that the person might carry baggage from the past, and even though they really trust this person, it's just like, this has happened to me before. Like, I can't let this happen again. And if that is the case, what are some, I guess, ways to work through that baggage and sort of, I guess, shut down, reboot, for loss of words? Like, this is fresh, this is new. Yeah. It's a blank canvas. We're starting again.
Yeah. I would say a lot of self-love and compassion to start with, and recognize that I would say all women are carry trauma, carry experience in the past where we didn't feel safe in our body. And I see a lot of women come for me and they tell me, I don't have any trauma, I've never been sexually abused or raped or experienced anything extreme. And that's beautiful, but I'm also then asking you, but have you had an experience where you was walking through a dark park and you felt scared, you didn't feel safe in a woman's body, or where you were in the grocery shop or in Coles or Woolworths and a man behind you was perving on you and you felt really uncomfortable, or we've been to a pub or a concert or been somewhere where someone grabbed your ass or your boobs and it was like, okay, it's not safe in my body to be a woman in this moment. So we all have had experience where we didn't feel safe. Again, you are in this new connection, you feel really, you are in love, or you have this deep desire, but we need to remind ourselves that with having those experiences in the past, it's not your fault that you are stuck in your head. It's not your fault that you are struggling to be in your body and struggling to feel pleasure. And it's not your fault that you are struggling to surrender and experience orgasm with your partner. So when we can understand, okay, cool, there's experience in my earlier life that are causing me to be stuck in my head or not feeling safe. When you can have that self-love and compassion and understanding of that, you can then approach everything with curiosity. Okay, so it's not my fault, but it's now my responsibility to reprogram this, to allow myself to feel safe in my body, to allow myself to open, to allow myself to receive pleasure, and remind myself that in this moment, it's safe for me to receive pleasure. In this moment, I can take a deep breath and come into my body and focusing on what's going on here and now, and try to open. And one beautiful practice to do, bring ourselves to this moment, is so you include the five senses, whereas, okay, what are you seeing right now? Is your partner, lover, if you are with yourself, have a look at your own body. Like, what can you feel? Can you touch your partner? What are you feeling in your own body? Like, what's going on right now? Can you almost talk to yourself? And even this is even like when there is self-pleasure as well, where women are uncomfortable with self-pleasure, like touch yourself and like focusing on what can you feel right now, and remind yourself, actually, there is safe for me to touch myself, it's safe for me to receive pleasure, it's safe for me to be with my partner. So bring yourself to this moment and remind yourself again that everything you've been taught about sex and intimacy is not right, if that's your truth, and I'm safe here and now.
I love that, especially the five senses thing, because I guess it goes hand in hand with meditation practices. When you've just got a busy mind about family life or work or all those sorts of things, it's I guess a common practice sometimes to, if you find it hard to meditate, just watch a candle flame and just sit there and watch the flame wave around. And it's just that bring your awareness to one thing or maybe two things. And it's like, okay, we can just silence the monkey brain, as you referenced earlier, and actually, okay, what's actually happening right now? Not all the stories, not all the future predictions or past experiences, like right now, what am I witnessing? For people that are experiencing those kind of blocks and they're trying to make their way back to their body, I guess two questions. Do you find that, one, learning how to masturbate and pleasure yourself can really help people have a more intimate relationship as a couple, because suddenly they know what they like and what works for them, and therefore when they are intimate with that other person, they can sort of start on a better page, because it's not this massive guessing game of, should I try this, should I try that, I'm just going to keep winging out all these things, and then nothing really works, and then you feel a bit bad because both of you are trying really, it gets messy quick. And I guess the other side of that question too is, open lines of communication. Like, let's say you are experiencing low libido, or you just, you want to be intimate, but it's not happening. That, talking to your partner in a way that doesn't dismiss them. It's like, this isn't you. I've just got a few things going on in my mind, but I need you to know, because if we can work through this together, I know we can get to a really wonderful place.
Yeah. Beautiful questions. If you are in a relationship, and I would say, as you mentioned, like, talk to your partner and say, I want to work on our intimate relationship or on our sex life, and I also want to work a little bit on my own journey and on my relationship to my body and my sexuality as well. And having that support in the relationship can definitely help. And if you are struggling to come into your body and you feel stuck in your head, I would go into the self-pleasure and masturbation as well, but I would actually start allowing yourself to come into your body again outside the bedroom in a non-sexual setting. Because if it is uncomfortable in the bedroom, let's start in a more safer place. Again, coming back to the five senses and what brings you pleasure, what makes you feel good, there is non-sexual. And this is where it's like, if you can't even eat something and get pleasure from that, or like enjoying something, or be a bit loud, or like, oh, this is so beautiful, or dance or move without feeling shame, how would you be able to open and surrender and allow yourself to be expressive in the bedroom? So how can you allow yourself to be more alive, allow yourself to be more expressive and move more? So when it comes to sex and intimacy, the three key elements that intensify or brings more pleasure, move pleasure to your body is sound, breath, and movement. So how can you allow more sound, breath, and movement in your everyday life in a non-sexual setting? And then when you learn to be more in your body and just allowing yourself to move, just allow your body to move and meditate, or maybe just sit in nature, or just sit for a moment and, what am I feeling right now? What's going on in my body? What's happening in my body? And okay, it's safe for me to feel, it's safe for me to just noticing my own body. And then, of course, take what you are experiencing outside the bedroom and the safety of being in your body and the safety of feeling, and then move into self-pleasure and masturbation when you are ready and when it feels like, okay, this is something I want to do, not something I should do. There's so many benefits of self-pleasure and masturbation, but again, on your journey, you don't have to rush there. And I would say, like, just start with touch your face, like touch yourself in a way with curiosity. What brings me pleasure? Like just touching your underarm and allow yourself, this is actually really nice. This brings me pleasure. You don't have to go into the bedroom and reach for your pussy or a dildo or vibrator and just go straight in. Like self-pleasure is so much more than just masturbation. But then, of course, coming into the bedroom, and I highly recommend that you have a self-pleasure experience. And if it's available for you, explore yourself, explore your pussy, touch yourself, get to know yourself then, so you can communicate to your partner how you like to be touched, how you need to be touched, what turns you on, what feels really good. And this is where, like, I would ask most women I work with, like, what do you like? How do you like to be touched? And no one would have an answer. And even if you was going to ask me, like, I wouldn't remember if I like circles or tapping or left to the right. Like, we don't even know ourselves. And then we expect our partner in most cases, if there is a man who doesn't have a pussy, doesn't have a clitoris, never had one, they just gonna know. So touch yourself to get in touch with yourself, get to know your own body, get to know what you need to experience more pleasure, what feels good, and then you're able to communicate that to your partner. And also, like, who doesn't like pleasure? We all love pleasure. So when you're able to give yourself pleasure, it's a beautiful experience. It's very empowering. It's a beautiful act of self-love. And I truly believe that self-pleasure or yoga or meditation or gardening is all self-care. It's a practice that can give us so much if we allow ourselves.
I love that your starting steps are outside of the bedroom, because you have girl talk with your girlfriends and your own personal experiences and things like that. And it's amazing how much we do sweep under the rug pleasure of the smallest kind. Like, as you said, just sitting out in the sun and just knowing what it feels like to have the sun just sit on your skin. Because when you observe that, especially if it is something that you like, it is such a beautiful, warming experience. Or when you can just really pay attention to like birds chirping and things like that, or even, as you said, with food, what are you tasting, what kind of textures are in your mouth, and do you actually like what you're eating, or are you just, there's so many things where we just act. There's no actual observation attached to it. So I love, I guess, that with your teaching with your clients, that it's so much more than just sex and intimacy. Like, it's actually extending into everyday life. And I guess a few things that I've picked up on you from watching your Instagram stories and your posts and things like that is that something that you do preach. Like, pleasure is everywhere, and you should be able to get it from different areas of your life. And I don't know, I'm just guessing it's like that. Let's say in one area it's lacking, at least you've got other things to go to. I guess that's a good place for the next question, because it's, if there's emotional things going on, or you are stressed, or you've got a massive to-do list for work, or there's all these sorts of things, you might be the most sexual of person, but suddenly you can't switch on. It's like, I'm not interested in sex. I can't orgasm. I can't do any of it. And then all of a sudden you've got this guilt, because it's like, oh no, but I kind of like the fact that I'm that sexy person who can get in the mood. And what, am I broken? Has something happened and I've turned whatever age and it's just done? Or you've had children, or you've just moved, there's just lockdowns right now, there's so much going on to cloud the brain. Would you, I guess, give the same sort of steps? It's like, normally I'm pretty comfortable with my sexual self and I'm empowered and I don't think I'm lacking, but suddenly it's gone. Where did it go? Would you suggest the same sort of steps, which is just go back to basics? What can you see? What can you hear? Those sorts of practices?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, again, what brings you pleasure, and how can you ask yourself in every moment that does this bring me more pleasure, or does this move me away from pleasure? Does this make me feel more alive and give me more energy, or does this drain my energy? And have a look through the whole day, but then also taking responsibility for ourselves. And this is where I see a lot of the women, and they don't like when I say that, but I'm like, your pleasure is your responsibility. That you are turned on and in the mood, that's also your responsibility. Your orgasm is your responsibility. So, and as women, we're very stuck in our head through our whole day to be able to function, to be able to pay our bills. We have businesses, we have a career, we have family, kids, parents to look after. We're constantly in our head doing, achieving, organizing, fixing. And then we expect ourselves to come home and step out of it and surrender in the bedroom. And for most of us, it doesn't happen like that. So we need to regulate ourselves. We need to take responsibility to get ourselves in the mood, because you can't just put that on our partner. It's not up to them. So again, what gets you in the mood? What do you need to relax and feel aroused? For some, there would be, okay, sit down for 2 minutes, just quiet your mind and let go of the day. For some, that might need to have a bath. For someone who has a really hectic life, they might need a weekend away without kids. And that might not be available right now, or but in a normal time where it's like, okay, there's so much going on, but I know every 2 months we have a kids-free weekend and we can look forward to that. For some, there would be, again, okay, I need a clean house. I can't get in the mood unless if there's mess everywhere. Okay, cool. I know that. I take responsibility then to maybe skip the gym on Thursday to clean the house. So when the weekend comes, the house is clean, so I can be connect to my partner rather than stressed about what a house looks like. So again, what do you need to feel relaxed and be turned on? Candles, incense, the right music, it's so different for everyone. And again, take responsibility and communicate this to your partner. Set your partner up for success by letting them know what you need.
Yeah.
If if they know you need a clean house, maybe they can skip the gym or finish work an hour early to clean the house, because then they know, okay, cool, the house is clean. She's more likely going to feel for sex. So, like, how can you help each other?
Yeah.
How can you set each other up for success and communicate what you need?
Yeah, and I guess when you add that sort of element to it, suddenly the idea of spontaneous sex doesn't seem as reasonable, because if you are in a position where it's like, all right, you know what, I need to make sure the kids are out of the house. I need to make sure that, for some people, it's like them being asleep isn't enough. Like I need them out of the house, because if they wake up or I hear a cry, or it's not worth it, or perhaps, the clean house, like you said, or if I know I've got a project due or something like that, I just need to have it finished, and then I can switch off from that and go from there. And I guess that opens up a whole new world to your journey to being intimate, because it's like, okay, now I know that I actually need X, Y, and Z covered in order to allow myself a space where I can explore that. And I don't know, I can't help but think that there is empowerment attached to that, because suddenly it's like, well, I know if I create this environment, I'm more receptive to this. And if I'm more receptive, I'm more confident to try.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And also then if you have had really amazing sex, or you had a period where you felt really horny or aroused, or you felt really intimate and connected to your partner, reflect in that moment. What does your life look like? What are you feeling like? What is your schedule looking like at the moment? So you write that down, take a few notes. So when you get to a stage in your relationship where it is a bit stagnant, sex is not happening as normal or as much as before, okay, have a look. What was happening in your life? What's the difference? What's the change? And how can we go back to what we had before? So awareness is always going to be the key for change.
Yeah. I guess back on the couples side of things, let's say you're in a position where you've got a pretty good sex life, you're pretty happy with it, but you feel like there could be more for you. Maybe you've heard a few things, you've read a few things, you've seen a few things, and it's like, oh, I'd love to give that a go, but I could never tell them that I want to give that a go. How do we start to kind of open up those conversations? And I understand that it could be a bit of a toe in the water hint, or do we sort of just blurt it out? How do we have that kind of conversation that we're slightly terrified to have? What do we do?
Yeah, really good question. It's one of the most common questions. I get people reaching out to me. It's like, I want to ask my boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. I don't know how. And I'm like, tell them you didn't listen to me and you heard something. So yeah, I would say, when we ask what we want, there's a big risk or a big chance we're going to get what we want. So if it's available for you to ask straight out, it's always going to be the fastest way. But I always recommend, this is a very vulnerable topic for a lot of people. So plant the seed first. I would say something like, I've been following this person on Instagram, or I heard a podcast today and they spoke about 50 Shades or anal sex or using a blindfold. And I never thought about that before. What's your thought? Is that something you would like to try one day, or are you thinking of feeling about that? So rather than telling them, I want to try this, ask them, what do you think about this? Have you seen or heard about this before? What's your thoughts? So I saw something on TV, or they spoke about it in my workplace, or I saw something online, or I read an article in the news and they spoke about this. What do you think? And if they would be, oh no, that's not for me, and shame it or shut it down, okay, cool, just leave it for a bit. I would say, you planted a seed, so very often they will go away and they will think about it, they will be on demand, maybe do some research, and maybe they come back in a month or two and like, oh, by the way, what you spoke about that blindfold, maybe that would be fun, right? Or maybe you then can ask again in 2 months' time again, or in a few weeks' time again, like, actually, I mentioned this, I actually think that's something I would like to try. Are you able to have a think about it, or maybe do some research? And I think that would really turn me on, or that would be really exciting, or something new for us to try to grow and to bond and to explore more things in the bedroom as a journey and something we try together.
And I guess with that sort of situation unfolding as well, it's really important to take your ego out of it. Because if you suggest something, and obviously you've put yourself in a vulnerable spot to suggest it, so your heart's racing and you've probably been thinking about it for a week or a month, because it's like, oh, are they going to think differently of me, or is it going to be a hit and they can't wait to try? Like, what's going to happen here? And you do experience the shutdown, and it's so easy to take that to heart. Like, I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe I ever brought that up. And as you said, it's like, maybe they just weren't ready to hear it. Like, they were watching the footy, or they were busy in their own mind about their own things, or maybe they're having a bad body image day if it's the female, and it's like, oh, I can't even think about sex right now, I can't. And it's the response isn't necessarily a reflection of them. It actually could just be the moment that they're in. So I guess the really important point, as you said, is to revisit it in a little bit of time, and maybe pick the timing of it at a time where you are not stressed and you're relaxed, and there's not sort of all these other whirlwinds going around in your head. But I love how you said, often people sort of sneak off and research things, because that's the other thing too. Maybe the person hasn't heard of what you've suggested and they feel a bit vulnerable about it. It's like, I didn't know that existed. I don't know what that word is. What do they think of me? No. So I'll just say no. I'd imagine you'd experience a fair bit of that sort of coming back and forth depending on the suggestions or what's being put forward to people.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something really good here about asking in the right moment. And this is super powerful when it comes to any important conversation in a relationship. Doesn't matter if it's with sex and intimacy or finances or your mother-in-law. If you're going to talk about something that is important for you, especially if it's a bit vulnerable for you to talk about, ask your partner first, like, hey, I would like to talk to you about something that is really important for you. Can you let me know when it would be a good time? And they might say, okay, what about tomorrow night? Because they have had an argument with someone at work, or they're really stressed, or something went shit in the family, or something going on, so now it's not the right time. Or they might say, no, it's a really good time. Do you want to talk about it now? And just the fact that you're coming forward and say that you want to talk about something that is important for you, or something that is a bit challenging for you to talk about, and asking for consent for the first, you have the full attention. And they're also aware that it is challenging for you. You are in a vulnerable position now. We're talking about this, so they can listen from a place of maybe more compassion, maybe more from the heart space rather than from their ego as well. And then, as you say, we need to be prepared of that reaction. And again, they had the same stories from the parents, church, religion, society. So the first reaction might be, oh my God, I would never do that. But then again, let them go and sit and reflect about it. Why would they never want to try being tied up in the bedroom? Because they're realizing that's because I read something or someone said something. But then when they think about it, actually, they would be really hot. And then they come around, because they needed that reaction as well of shutdown and really to reflect and let go of those limiting beliefs they have been told and reprogrammed. So try to not take it personally, but then also, if you have a partner, either if it's your boyfriend or girlfriend or any person who comes for you and asks for something or request or invite or want to try something, even if there is something you don't want to try, acknowledge them, acknowledge them, like, thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for being so vulnerable. I can imagine it would be really hard for you to ask for, open up. I'm feeling so honored that you feel so safe with me, or that we're feeling that we are so close that you can share this with me. I don't think at this stage there is something I want to try, but let me think about it. So really acknowledging your partner when they come to you and open up about something that is challenging for them, even if there is a no.
Yeah, I was going to say that's so important, isn't it? Because it's okay if it is a no, and you might revisit it once, twice, three times, and it's, what, it just doesn't appeal to them, and that's okay. And you shouldn't take it personally, or attach any judgment to either one of you, because it's just not your cup of tea. But I was just thinking about something that you said then, and I remember when the 50 Shades of Grey books come out, and I guess a lot of women are less receptive to porn compared to men, and that's super general, but I'm just going to say it anyway. And then these books come out, and it's like women felt a little bit more comfortable to be in the privacy of their own home and read these books. And then all these stories were coming out of women being like, I'm reading this, I'm feeling a particular way. I never thought that would sort of get me thinking and feeling these things. Suddenly maybe I want to whip out the handcuffs. Maybe I want to whip out the blindfold. And you had almost like a revelation of really sexual women come through. And obviously, I don't know any personal stories. I just remember being in the media everywhere when women were writing in going, like, I've reignited my sex life with my partner because I didn't know that would turn me on until I started reading it. And I guess just on the, if you're in a position where maybe you want to try new things, but you don't even know where to look, it's like, porn might not be your thing, or magazines or whatever it is, but suddenly you know that there's a book that's got that sensual content. It's like, well, choose something that you're comfortable with and explore. And then you're either going to feel resistance or you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, something that's really important here is as well where we can very often fantasize about something and be turned on by the idea from doing it or exploring it, but it is something we don't want to do in real life. So just because you read 50 Shades or you watch something on porn or you read an erotic novel about something and it turns you on and it's something you're fantasizing about while you're self-pleasuring, it doesn't mean that there is something you want to explore or live out in your real life. So it's really important as well to sit with that and ask yourself and feel into, is this the idea of this that turns me on? Is it the fantasy? Or actually, this is something I would like to start to explore. And then how can you go really slow and make sure if you are trying new things that you're doing it with your partner, with yourself, or where there is safety and trust and you can be open and vulnerable and communicate and go really slow. But yeah, like I was a big revolution and women started opening up where it's like, actually, this is fun and exciting. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to explore things in the bedroom and try new things. And it's okay to have fantasies and desires about everything that is taboo or kinky or naughty or dirty, and everything we shouldn't be doing is really exciting, right? So yeah, celebrate that. Your fantasies and desires is part of who you are. Honor them, celebrate them.
I guess to flip the switch on what you said, just let's say you've read something, you've seen something, and you've felt that certain way about it, and you're like, I want to give this a go. And then despite having all the trust in the world with your partner and having the open conversations, you do try and you pretty quickly recognize I don't like it. What would be, because obviously, there's such vulnerable things, but if you very quickly work out that, oh no, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, you have every right to just, no, thank you, we're going to stop that practice right now, rather than go, oh, but I said that I would, and now I don't want to, and now I should. And then, that's when emotional trauma starts to kick in, and that's not good for relationships. So I guess we've seen something, we've heard something, we've read something, we've had the conversation, we feel comfortable and confident to explore. Things start happening and it's like, oh, I've reached my limit. I do not want to. How is a good way, I guess, to say no when you're worried about disappointing the person you've said let's try this with? And potentially, should there be a conversation afterward to kind of debrief and go, this isn't a personal attack on you, or it's not a personal attack on me. I thought this would get me really excited, and it turns out I don't feel safe. How can we kind of, because it's tough.
Yeah, and really good question. And I would say just no, say no and stop what you're doing. Doesn't matter what you said yes to a week ago, an hour ago, 1 minute ago. In the moment you feel in your body, and this is not just about a fantasy you're trying, or trying a new sex toy, or a blindfold, or being tied up. This is sex as well, or foreplay. In the moment you feel in your body that I don't want this anymore, or you feel a response in your body that your body is not ready, your body doesn't want it anymore, it's a no, it's a stop, and you should stop whatever you're doing. And this doesn't matter if you've been on a date with someone who paid for dinner and drinks, or if you are in a marriage with your husband and you've been planning to have sex, or if you have booked a hotel for the weekend and have your kids for a weekend and you've been planning this sexy getaway. In the moment, wherever you are with whoever you are with, and your body feels, I don't want this, you should stop straight away. You don't owe anyone anything, never. This is your body, and I know it can be challenging, and as women we think like sex is a duty, like a lot of us think sex is a duty, something we should do, but actually I said yes to this date, or he drove all the way here, or he booked the hotel now, or he made effort to clean the house, I should. Where it's like, no, stop straight away. And especially if you're exploring something as well where if you are exploring with a partner where there's safety and trust and everything, I would say have the conversation before that. We don't know what way this is going to go. And, let's try, but let's both honor ourselves. And if we at any stage feel actually this doesn't feel right, let's just stop then. And then come back to a debrief as well, where have a little bit chat afterwards. Maybe there was like this and this and this was really nice and I love that. But that last thing, or what you said, or what you did, or maybe we can try this on a after we had connected a little bit longer before, or we need more foreplay, or had normal sex before, or whatever that means for you. So change the context and have a debrief when it's available. And I always recommend couples to have a debrief after sex, even if it's just normal vanilla sex, missionary sex. Like, talk to each other. And it's such a good time to give feedback and connect after you've had sex, because in that moment there is no criticism about what someone is doing wrong. You also connected and you have bonded over sex, so it's a good time to share what did you like, what felt really good, what do you want your partner to do more of next time, was there something you didn't like that they don't have to do again.
And I'd imagine too, it's one of those things that if you can have that conversation, because obviously you trust them and care for them enough that you're willing to be intimate with them. But having such open lines of communication, sometimes, like, actually for the most part, I find that much more difficult, but so much more rewarding. Because if you can be, not in a sexual context, but openly have the conversation of, I like this, I don't like this, I would like to try this, maybe we could entertain the idea of this. Like, they're really hard conversations to have, but once you've had them, you do feel more connected to the person. It's like, oh, okay, they get me. And whether it's you agree, disagree, or it doesn't even really matter where it ended. It's just the fact that, wow, I can actually express the most vulnerable part of myself to this person and they continue to love and accept me. And I just find that such a powerful thing about relationships, that, again, because it's uncomfortable, it's avoided. And I don't know, I guess it's more of a rip the Band-Aid kind of thing. It's like you never want to start the conversation because it's weird and you're not sure, but it's always worthwhile. Do you find, like, for the most part, as emotional as the chat can be, especially at the start, for the most part, by the end of the conversation, everything's simmered down and the emotions have settled, and it's quite an enlightening conversation to have with that significant other.
Yeah. And that's with everything, right? The more you do something, the easier it becomes. And once you get over the barrier of starting talking about sex and intimacy, then you can talk about everything else that is so hard to talk about, your finances and like the fight about where you're going to go on holiday and like all this other challenging conversation. And couples who do tend to talk about sex and intimacy tend to communicate better about everything else and tend to be in a happier, healthier relationship. And when you can be vulnerable and open. So there's a few tips and tricks where I would recommend. I would say if it's too challenging for you to start face to face, send emails, text messages.
Yes.
Send something naughty or dirty or a question on, like, do you prefer this or that? Like, do a game, like throw in like normal question, like, do you prefer coffee or a cocktail tonight? Like ice cream, chocolate or vanilla. And then like on top or at the bottom in the bedroom, sex toys or no sex toys, like wave it in. Also, the face-to-face conversation, I recommend don't sit opposite each other if it's really challenging for you. Do a walk and talk session, go for a walk and walk next to each other.
Because it's quite aggressive, isn't it? Even though, like, you love and care for them, it's like, wow, our eyes are interlocked. I kind of need to look away right now, or I kind of need to have this chat and I know you're here, but I need to kind of not focus that you're here because I need to let this out.
So don't sit opposite each other, rather like walk or sit down and watch the ocean or sit next to each other and talk. And then again, remind yourself that, okay, this is really uncomfortable, but what's possible on the other side? What's possible after we have this conversation, or when we have had those conversations for 6 months time? What can our sex life look like in a year? How much pleasure, what can I experience in the bedroom with my partner if I just overcome the fear of expressing what I want, or how I need to be touched, or how I like to be touched, or what I need to feel safe in the bedroom, or to be able to surrender.
And I guess that's the end game as well. It's sort of, even though if you're initiating that conversation to what feels like something that's for you, it is going to benefit both of you when you've got those open lines of communication, because it's such a uniting thing. I guess one more question, because I know it's probably a popular one and it could date back to high school talk. I'm not too sure. But, you know, there is a lot of women out there who don't want to disappoint their partner and they fake orgasms. But then suddenly they've faked enough orgasms and it's like, no, I want the real one. But, you know, your partner's led to believe that you've been satisfied for, it could be weeks, could be months, could be years. It doesn't really matter. But how can you sort of initiate the conversation? And I understand that you probably don't need to go, hey, I've been faking it the whole time, but you know, you want to take that pleasure to the next level. You don't want to offend anyone because, you know, they think they've been doing the right thing. How can we sort of open up those sorts of channels?
Yeah, really good question, and probably like the answer everyone would like to know, because you know there is so many women are faking, and I was faking most of my life because I could not orgasm with a partner after experienced trauma in the past and everything. I couldn't feel safe in my body, and I knew everything from the mind what to do, and I was the most loving partners, and communication was there and was having fun, but I just didn't understand why I couldn't orgasm. And you know, we're putting again so much pressure on ourselves, and I think we had to have a look at, okay, what are you expecting the orgasm to look like? Where you compare yourself with? To start with, only 1 in 4 women orgasm from just penetration. So most of us will not even orgasm from penetration. If we look at porn, for everyone orgasm from penetration in 5-10 minutes. That's not true. So we need to come back to, okay, what am I comparing myself to? And also, like, for some, orgasm can look different every time. You know, sometimes there's a hiccup and sometimes there's a volcano explosion, and can be everything in between. But what I would say is it's very tricky. And you know, if you're in a long-term relationship and you don't, I would say, feel into, like, is there something you want to be open and vulnerable and say, like, hey, I have been faking because I didn't want to hurt your feelings, and I can't carry this anymore. I want to be open and honest with you, and I would like to work towards being able to orgasm with you instead. And if that's not available for you, what I would say, what I've done with a few of my clients and my women in the past, is where, okay, cool, they're doing work with me where we're saying, I'm going to be in a container, I'm going to do work, and I'm going to work on connecting to my body, learn to love and accept my body, and connecting my sexuality. And I want to take a few steps back when it comes to sex and intimacy, and connect to myself to experience more pleasure, or pleasure on a whole new level. And with that comes, like, moving away from vibrating, moving away from chasing orgasm, moving away from trying to experience orgasm, taking away the goal or the agenda with sex, and focus on subtle sensation, focus on connecting on a deeper level. So almost, okay, I'm not allowed to orgasm now for the next couple of months because I'm on this self-love journey or self-discovery journey. And when you take away that and the pressure, and then maybe slowly, and then you're learning yourself what you need, what you want, you're starting to communicate, there is a big chance that the magic eventually will happen. So that's one way to do it. And again, like, it's you know, women orgasm when we feel safe. You know, we need to feel safe in our bodies, safe with our partners, safe in the environment. And when we orgasm as women, like that, in that moment, we're completely in our body, completely in our body. And when we orgasm, we just surrender and let go, and all parts of us, it's given away to our partner in that moment. And with the work, I say, if you have pieces of yourself, or if you feel there's part of yourself that is not accepted from your partner, that can be your family, your choice of career, what you did 10 years ago, the way you dress, what you do on your free time. If you feel that you are judged, or that not all parts of you are accepted, your body's going to try to keep you safe and not allow yourself to surrender and let go. So, and also working with a lot of women, you know, it's not about what's happening in the bedroom. It's not about the strokes or changing positions or trying something new. We orgasm from our heart. And if there is a blockage here, or if there is a blockage in our throat, and we don't express our boundaries, we don't express what we need, we don't speak up, we keeping quiet, or we playing small, or we suppressing what we need, or there's too much going on here, we're not going to orgasm, no matter what's happening in the bedroom. So again, self-love and compassion.
I like how you said, especially, stop sort of chasing the orgasm, because sometimes you can
Yeah.
be so caught up on just wanting the orgasm that that takes you out of your body, because you're like, has it happened yet? Why hasn't it happened yet? Why isn't it happening? Nothing's working. I can't feel anything. Where's this? Where's that? And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden it's like, oh, honey, you don't stand a chance of it ever happening if you're so goal orientated towards it. And I guess how you said, just focusing on sensation, that's sort of where the build kicks in. And if you can be so embodied in what you're feeling in the moment, that's where the orgasm comes from. It's not just this, boom, you got it. But I guess, that's such a learning experience on its own, knowing that sometimes the longer it takes to get there, the better the reward. But it's having the patience and the confidence to just pursue it rather than being like, oh, it's not like the movie. I haven't come in 5 minutes, broken, damage, not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you check out because like, what's the
Yeah.
point? And it's like, oh no, but just, yeah, I guess it's come around a few times since we've been talking that a lot of it is just coming into your body every time, and feeling sensations. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? That sort of really opens up the world to you when it comes to pleasure in all way, shapes, and forms. In the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. Now, I guess that's a really exciting time for us to talk about an incredible program that you're offering, because, it's so much more than just pleasure. I mean, you're helping women overcome body image, mental blocks, mindset, and, obviously pleasure is a massive part of it. But just please tell us about this incredible program you're offering.
Yes, I'm running a women's online program. It's a 7-week sensual empowerment program where we learn to love and accept our body wholeheartedly. Your body, you can only focusing on one thing. You can focus on pleasure, or you can focus on all the body parts it's trying to hide. So to be able to experience pleasure, we need to learn to love and accept ourselves. And we also work with using our voice, expressing our boundaries, what we need, desire. And then we work on slowing down to feel more, awaken our sensuality, and connect our sexuality so we can feel worthy of pleasure. And this is where, in this program, we work with desire. And it doesn't matter if your desire is to have passionate, exciting, wild, mad sex and intimacy with your partner, or if you desire to write a book or start a podcast or start a business or move to a farm and have 10 kids. Allowing yourself to feel your desire and claiming that desire. As women, our sexual energy is our life force energy. It's also our creative energy. And we all would know, like, when we are experience pleasure, allowing ourselves to be sensual and sexual, like we're feeling a lot of creativity, and we become very abundant and we attract things. So it's a self-love and self-discovery journey where it's all about bringing you back home to you. So it's a 7-week journey this time. It was 6 weeks before, but I had to add a week because there is so much content in there. So it's pre-recorded videos for 6 weeks, where you get a pre-recorded video for between an hour and hour and a half, and then we meet 7 times for a live session, and then we connect and do a group coaching, and we're taking what we learn in the video recordings to embody that so we can get lasting results and change that's gonna not just happening in the moment, but we can only learn so much from mom when we embody things, and when you get the love and support to actually go out and ask for what you want and take action. So it's a community. You get a workbook and you get home practices and play every week to help you connect to yourself. And it's a magical experience. And we're starting on the 30th of August.
Yeah, so the podcast will be live that day. Now, I guess quick question. Let's say someone's downloaded the podcast today, is the 30th, and they're like, oh my gosh, have I missed out? Is there a way that we can DM you, email you, just, have we missed the bandwagon, or can we still jump on?
Yeah, if you haven't listened to this podcast and you feel like I need to be in this program, this is exactly everything I need to work on. Reach out on social media on my Instagram, and we can have a chat, and you can catch up. If you have missed the first live session, you can watch the recording after a few days afterwards, and you can catch up if you are a few days late. So please reach out if this is where you feel, if you feel a yes, full body fuck yes in your body, I need to do this. Yeah, please reach out and we can have a look how far we have come.
And I just want to backtrack to how you said empowering women to ask for what they want in every way, shape, or form, because it's something that, I don't know, somewhere in society we learn to, I don't know, but it's like, no, we'll just do what we're told and we'll go through the paces. And it's like, no, it's okay to know what you want and to go for it and to ask for it. And so I love that that's a big part of your program, because, as you said, inside the bedroom, outside of the bedroom, there's so much of value in just learning that you can do that and that it is okay. And, again, the empowerment that comes from that. So I'm so excited to be sharing this program with everyone. And if they want to find you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle for us?
Soul Intimacy.
Yes, so it's a fabulous Instagram page. I'm going to link your Instagram and website in the show notes, so it's nice and easy for everybody to find. And what can I say? Thank you so much for such an incredible, open and honest conversation about, the topics that affect us all and make us feel the most vulnerable.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll speak soon.